This is Angela Wilson, and today I am at Ink and Ember in Stamford with Lauren Gross, who is one of our lovely judges for our competition, Ink to Sound Waves. Our writing competition closes October the 31st, and there are categories for all ages, short story categories for adult, secondary school and also primary school ages. Lauren is going to be judging our secondary school and adult entries. We've also then got an adult poetry category, which is being judged by the lovely Nikita. So today we are at Ink and Ember as they are sponsoring our competition and giving incredible prizes to all of the winners. The winning entries will also be created into an audio version, which is going to be played live on air in a dedicated show, which is very exciting. So, getting into our main guest today, who is of course the lovely Lauren. You wrote, I have her book here,
The Gift of a Rose, a Twin Soul Saga, Book 1.
And this came out, am I correct in thinking, in March this year?
Yep.
Lovely. So I'm going to read the blurb of the book and then I'm going to ask you lots of questions about it.
Okay.
In a clearing in the middle of the woods lies the village of Sandy, and to Rose, Sandy is her entire world. Rose possesses a gift and the gods have chosen her. But everything unravels when a rebel with a cause, armed with a prophecy, steals her from her fate and reveals that she is destined for greatness in a world far bigger than she could ever imagine. So, Lauren, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Lauren Gross. I am an author from Corby in Northamptonshire. I'm a relatively new author in terms of selling books. My debut novel came out in March of this year. And I am an independent author. I've done all of the sort of formatting, editing and writing of it myself, and the design work of the cover all myself.
It's beautiful.
I live with 7 cats.
Wow.
7 cats and a dog and 3 children and a partner. We've got a very, very busy house and I have a very, very busy brain. So writing is my sort of release from that.
Creative outlet.
Amazing. Yeah.
So this is book 1 of a Twin Souls saga.
Yes.
When is book 2 going to be released?
Ooh, book 2. Book 2, I've in my mind, it's coming out in December.
Okay.
I haven't chosen the date yet, but
Okay.
I thought it could be on quite a few Christmas lists.
Absolutely.
Hoping. Book 2 is The Birth of Dawn. Mm-hmm. And without spoiling The Gift of a Rose, it really does end on a cliffhanger.
Okay.
And I know I am a really impatient reader. I
Right.
need to know what happens next.
Okay.
So in order for me to give that to other people, I have knuckled down and wrote every day, every minute, every spare minute I've got, so that I can get that out and give people the answers that they so desperately need to know.
Do you find that a lot of your readers of this book in particular are local, or have you managed to reach a nationwide or even international audience?
I think the majority of my readers have been local, because local people love supporting local people, don't they? So the majority have been local. The majority have been within the UK. It has reached Germany, and there's been a few sort of readers in the States as well.
Right, okay.
So there is a few things, and I have a podcast coming up soon with a channel in the States as well. So I'm hoping that will sort of get that a little bit further.
So the genre is romantasy, which obviously blending romance and fantasy. Mm-hmm. How did you come to that genre? Had that always been your style of writing, or did you read other books and you were inspired by their style?
Yeah, so I maybe about a year and a half ago, a friend of mine was urging me to read a series, ACOTAR. Okay. I don't know if many your listeners might have heard of it, A Court of Thorns and Roses. And she was just urging me, you need to read this book. I hadn't read anything within that genre before.
Okay.
I've listened to a couple of audiobooks that sort of went into the fantasy realm, but not this sort of specific genre. And as soon as I read that first book, I think I consumed it within a day.
Okay.
And then the whole sort of 5 books were done within 2 weeks. I just needed to consume it. And I thought, this is like so addicting.
Yes.
And I'd already had so much material that I wasn't sure what to do with it. And as soon as I sort of read that, it was kind of like a, like a light bulb moment, sort of penny drop sort of thing. And it was like, this is what all of this content that I have, that's what it could be. So yeah, very much inspired by that. And I think lots of people that read that genre could probably tell you the same. It's so addictive. So yeah, I'm hoping
I'll have to give the genre a go. Yeah, I don't think it would typically be something I'd go for, but I'm
it would. I didn't think it would either. I didn't think fantasy or like romantic fantasy sort of thing. Because a lot of it's kind of like there's men with wings, and you just like at first I don't know, but actually it's really good, and I think it provides a really good sort of release from real life.
Because it is so different.
Yeah, and you just sort of embrace it. It doesn't have to be sort of, anything. It doesn't have to mean anything.
Absolutely.
It's just sort of like escapism.
That's great. Thank you. So looking back in time, were you always a fan of reading and writing at school? Were you, top of your class in English and wanting to get involved? Or is it something that you've come to later in life?
I think I've always been a writer. Maybe not. It maybe wasn't stories, but it was more things like songs. We used to write songs when we were kids, or news bulletins, and it went into sort of diaries that, at the time of writing them, they felt like diaries. But if I was to look at them now, I would see that they were completely sort of dramatized, and they'd have illustrations with them, and it was basically me seeing myself as a main character within stories around me.
Okay.
I have written short stories with my children, with them at the focus. I just always thought it was just a hobby. It was just a hobby.
Yeah.
It was just something that I enjoyed doing. I didn't really realise until sort of maybe in the last year that I could, or the last couple of years, that actually, everyone starts, that's where everyone starts. And I think I'm at a good point in my life now where I can focus on those things.
You can put more time into it.
Put more time into it, focus on it, and it's just come out so naturally now, whereas it maybe might not have had I done it earlier.
Of course. So how long had you had this particular story in your head for? Were you sitting on it for a long time, or was it something that came to you and you thought, right, I've got to get this down?
No, so most of the things within this story are notes that I've had in my phone, and it could have been, maybe some of them were like from 5 years ago.
Okay.
But it wasn't ever with the intention to write a story.
Right.
So I dream really vividly. I really enjoy silence. So in the silence of driving or just doing household chores or whatever, just things just come into my head. And a lot of the notes that I've used for this book weren't specifically those characters. It's just, it might be bits of dialogue that I've just put in the notes.
Okay.
And it wasn't until, again, I read Akatar that I was sort of like, right, I can take some of it make that.
So they were kind of independent factors.
They were, So it's maybe not even, maybe it wasn't even said within, but they were just taking lines out of those notes that could work. And the majority of it is dialogue that sort of comes to me, and I'm sort of, it'll be a made-up conversation that, now it makes sense, but over these sort of last few years, I don't know why I noted them down. It's just, they just became so much that...
What would you say was the one thing that made you kind of think, actually, no, I can publish my work, I can get it out there and not just have it to yourself? Because you said over the past year, it kind of, you thought, oh, I'll go and do it. But do you remember if there was one in particular kind of moment that you thought, right, this is it? Like, was it a glass of wine on a Friday night, or was it, was there something that inspired you to do it now? I
don't think I've ever really sort of focused on myself. So for many years, I was quite a young mum. So for many years, I've had 3 children that were growing up, but now my youngest is 10. So it was kind of like, what do I do with the spare time that I now have?
Yeah.
And I sort of just, again, it was kind of as a hobby though. I started making this story and just watching tutorials of how to format and edit and design. And again, it was just as a, a hobby. And I just happened to put a story on Instagram.
Okay.
And a friend that I went to school with, I say a friend, I hadn't sort of seen that person for many years. She was sort of just sent me a message to say, what is it that you're doing? And I sent back, I've just decided to sort of write a book.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, well, send it to me.
Yeah.
I'd love to read it.
Yeah.
And she read it, I think like, it was like a day.
Yeah.
Like she read it and she was like, get it done. She was like, get it done. She said, because, you know, my favourite books are, you know, Akatar, Fourth Wing, and it was all the books that I felt had inspired me to write that. So when she was saying to me, these are my favourite books, and I could see that on the shelf with my favourite books, all it took was for that one person to say it.
Gave you the confidence that you already had in yourself, but you thought, oh, okay, well, other people are going to be as receptive to this.
And I was secret with it as well. Nobody actually knew I was writing a book. That was my first little sort of like soft launch sort of thing on Instagram. I kind of just dropped it. And all it took for her to say that, and I published it without telling anyone.
Amazing.
I just published it, sent a message out on that day to my family.
So you're self-published as well?
Yeah. So, and there was so much encouragement with it that it's just been kind of easy, if you like, sort of. I thought this next bit would be quite hard.
Yes.
But it hasn't.
You're finding it.
Yeah. It'd be touching on like the TikTok, BookTok community, which again I've had to learn. Yeah. I've had to learn how to sort of do that, and they've just embraced it. And I think it definitely helps that this genre is that up and coming.
Amazing.
Up and coming genre.
So Lauren, we've been talking a lot about your inspiration. As part of our competition, we have absolutely, you know, it's open to anything. There is no specific topic. So for our listeners who are thinking, okay, maybe I could write a short story before the 31st of October, what tips would you give to getting started? What's kind of your main advice for just getting going and diving right in?
I think I would say that is it 600 words?
600 words, yes.
I think what I would say is when you're looking at, you know, the fact that it's 600 words, that can feel like a lot to some people, and it's not. You have so much in you that you could put out there. Yeah. And then also to others, it might not seem like enough.
Yes. Yeah.
But what I would say is, even though it's a short story, I would think around the story. Okay. So give the whole thing background. So if you're writing about a particular person, maybe think about where they were before that specific moment in your story. It just gives the characters lots of depth. Even with the same as, you know, wherever the setting is. Okay. If you feel like you've got some good ideas, then write them down. It might not just be just one, just write several little bits down, and you might be able to pick bits from those stories. You could share it with someone else and see if they think it's good, but ultimately it has to be you. It has to be you that feels happy with it. And there's inspiration everywhere. Of course. You can find inspiration everywhere, even in, you know, the fact that who the competition is for, Rutland and Stamford. There's so much inspiration in Stamford town.
So I have to ask, this book is set in a village called Sandy. Has it got any correlation to the place of Sandy that many of our listeners will either drive to on the way to London or go on the train line through from Peterborough?
It hasn't got any direct sort of link to those things, but I think if you were to look in the book, even just at the sort of map at the front, you can see that there are place names that are local. Yes. I think it comes along with the fact of, you know, just local supporting local and that kind of thing. I wanted to put a nod to the area. The map now. I wanted to put some things in there. The village of Sandy is actually relates to a character within the story called Lysandra. Okay. So it's sort of related to her, but it was just looking around at the area. What can I bring into it?
Amazing. Yeah, that's beautiful. Another question about local living. You are a local author, which we love, and we ask all of our local contributors to tell us your favourite thing about Rutland and Stamford area.
Oh, do you know, I love the greenery. There's so much green everywhere. The history in the buildings. I always say, like, do you know when people talk about sort of powers, if you could have a power, I would love to be able to touch something and just see what it's seen. Could you just imagine how incredible that would be? So I just think there's so much inspiration for not even just stories, art, or just even conversations with people within the area.
It's such a hard question to answer because I was at Rutland Day a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And there was a lady there who was making a documentary about Rutland. She'd never been to Rutland before, but she'd always driven through it and thought, oh, I wonder what it is. And then she met someone from Rutland and she was asking me, what makes Rutland Rutland? And I was stumped because I was like, there's so much to make Rutland Rutland. I don't think I can condense it into one sentence. But yeah, I think what was interesting about that was she was saying that lots of people are comparing it to the Cotswolds and saying that we are the Knotswolds.
Yeah.
I went to the Cotswolds a few weeks ago and I had it, built up in my mind. And actually, I was driving through thinking, I'd rather be at home. It's much prettier.
It's so pretty. We're so lucky. We're surrounded by so much natural beauty.
Absolutely.
Which is I love about it. And lots of water.
Yeah.
Water's so calming.
It is.
So yeah, I think we're so lucky with this surrounding area.
Are you part of a creative community locally? Like, do you go to writing groups, or do you? I don't know. Yeah, are you part of anything like that locally?
I don't do writing groups, but I am as a reader part of a book club.
Lovely.
Which the same lady that told me to read ACOTAR.
Yes.
She kept trying to say, come to this book club that she organised, created it herself to find friends.
Yeah.
She wanted to find friends within our area, so she put a Facebook group out there, and it's grown and grown. And I decided to go. I think it was February, March time when I'd done my book. It was sort of done, and I thought I had a bit more time to read other books, because it's really hard to read while you're writing.
It is.
So I thought, now this is done, I'm going to get in there. But it's so much more than just reading, and they have been so supportive. The minute I joined, it was like, right, your book's the book of the month.
Amazing.
Then let's do your book for the book of the month. And they were so good with giving me ideas or feedback, and then it's sort of gone further from that. So at the weekend, we did a bookbinding session with one of the ladies that comes to the book club. So we all sat, and it was ACOTAR, and so it just kind of felt like a really sort of full circle-y sort of moment where it was kind of I was learning a new skill that I hadn't learned within the book sort of creating process, and with all of those people, and it is made my experience so much more enriching, rather than just being at home and reading it separately. People are reading together, and you don't even have to take part in the monthly read. You just come along for coffee and a chat. So that has really sort of enriched my experience with writing and reading.
Well, that's interesting, because it's part of the kind of the ongoing conversation that I'm having with lots of people in Rutland and Stamford, and that is that there's often quite a large focus on loneliness within maybe the older community, but actually as a younger person living here, I'm in my mid-20s, I feel that loneliness is quite a big thing for our generation, because lockdown happened and we're suddenly all thrown into working at home, or if you're a freelancer, you often don't get a kind of a human connection. So it's amazing to hear that she set up a book club to make friends, because I think there are lots of things going on locally now. There's something in Stamford called the Girls Group Chat, and I'm going to be speaking to their organisers in a couple of weeks, and they're setting up different events every week where they've got over 100 members now, and different people come in and out, and you can make friends. Have you made some other friends from going to that reading club
absolutely
then?
It's funny because actually some of them I've known, but yet we haven't ever really spoken to each other, or I have my sister that comes with me that we're both so busy that we don't really see much of each other, but that kind of, it becomes an excuse to get together.
Makes you set aside time.
It does. And I think this year I feel like it's been a big thing of community this year. I feel like lots of people are starting to realise that other people are really important. So we've gone from living in bubbles that many of us did enjoy. I really enjoyed it.
There was a calming nature of it.
There was. For many people there was. But then I think for many people it was hard to come back out of that.
It does feel like the world is just kind of opening up they say it opened up, but I agree that there was, even though we weren't scared of mixing, we just weren't
No, we'd got so used to our own company that we didn't feel like we needed anybody else. But even if it's just things like joining a book club, going to the gym, or even just, if you go and get your hair done, speaking to the person on the seat next to you, join a church, and like there's so many community groups around the place. You just need to find sort of
your
something,
thing.
and everyone within that group is nervous to come, like for the first time. But we're finding in that book club that there's so many people that will come to, like there was a couple that came to the event here, and then that's been their gateway into the book club.
I think it's having the confidence and thinking, right, I'm just going to go for one, and if I hate it, I don't need to go again. But you might go and meet somebody else that says, "Oh, let's try this," but it is just kind of like getting, building yourself up to go to one.
And it's so much, honestly, like there's not a single person that's regretted doing it.
Of course.
But you could regret not doing it. So it's definitely worth trying.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are nearing the end of our conversation, but last minute, you've already received some of the entries. I've been sending them across to you as they've been coming in so that you weren't kind of faced with all the stories at the end. So far, are you enjoying our entries?
Oh, I really am. I really, really am. There was, I've got one that I think is one to beat. Already.
Yeah. But it's still open.
It's still open. But I feel like that's my benchmark. There was a story that I found sort of seemed to really inspire ideas in my mind.
Amazing.
And not that I would take that story, but I thought to myself, I'd like to have a conversation with whoever wrote that, just to see if, what they think about sort of what it's inspired within me. I can't wait to read more. And they've all been really different.
Diverse.
They really have. One particular one, the point of view was from, let's say, something that you wouldn't expect to have, to read in that point of view, which I thought was quite clever. There's been humorous ones, there's been sort of romantic sort of ones, and it's just of quite thought-provoking.
Yeah, and just as a reminder to our listeners, you don't receive any details about who's entered the competition. You're literally getting the title and the work. It's only from the admin side that we're collecting names in so we can contact the winner. I guess one part of this competition is that it is ultimately going to be turned into an audio version and aired live on air. Do you find that because you know that that's the outcome of the competition, have you read any of them out loud at all to see how they flow kind of out loud? Yeah,
I did. I read, there was the one that I was saying about the point of view. I actually read it out to my son because it was funny.
Yes.
So he read it out loud, and you could kind of like imagine sort of sound effects with it.
Yeah.
But so that was really good. And also when you do read, I don't know if everybody does, but when I read stories, I like kind of hear it in like a different voice, like maybe depending on how the story's written, it could just sort of be a traditional narrator, or sometimes dialogue, you can sort of hear it in different ways, but all of them so far I can imagine them being read on air. So
we're really excited to be able to get them onto the radio, I guess, because that's something that we love and we have a passion for, and we don't have any audio books or audio plays on Rutland and Stamford Sound. It's mainly music and local content, but this is kind of mixing everything together. So thank you so much for agreeing to be a judge. Do you have any last minute tips for anybody who's thinking like, I might be a bit scared to enter, or they've been inspired by you and they're now like, right, I've got 3 weeks to get story together. Any last minute tips?
Just do it. There's nothing to lose. It's anonymous, really. Nobody would know that you've done it.
Nobody even needs to know that you've entered.
No one needs to know that you've entered.
Unless you win.
Unless you win.
But even then, I mean, if somebody really wanted to remain anonymous, I'm sure we could sort something out.
Yeah, I just think even if you don't win, it doesn't mean that it wasn't good enough.
Because it's subjective.
Yeah, it is, definitely. So it's always worth taking part.
That's great. Thank you so much for speaking to me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.